I heard you say a video about like negative inflection, positive inflection. It's like that other word, passive, or just, I don't know. What, like, explain that, and why do you think that works on women, this instead of requesting, being more assertive?
Yeah. So yeah, that's something different. So there's the active attraction and passive attraction. And what I mean with that is what I talked about, right? Which is putting in the time and the effort to purposely and actively try to create attraction with a woman in a conversation versus using social media or advertising yourself, right? But yeah, so assertiveness, it comes back to this masculine energy projection, right? And communication has three channels. The first one that everybody focuses on is verbal communication, basically the words that you're using, which interestingly enough is the one that is the least important. I'm not saying it's not important because it actually is, and mastering verbal communication is something that you should as well. But the two other elements to communication are tonality and your body language. So that's why I emphasize a lot of work on body language and tonality with my clients, because those are the ones that have predominance over the words that you're using or over verbal language. So in tonality, there's this concept called inflection of your voice, right? So a lot of guys, if they're feeling nervous, actually anyone, if they're feeling nervous, they will tend to have an upward inflection of their voice. And it creates this question like phrasing of what they're saying. So, for example, if I go up to a girl and I say, "Hey, excuse me, what is your name? Nice to meet you. My name is Emiliano." I'm ending it on a on the high pitch, right? So it's as if I'm asking permission for her. Hey, like my name is Emiliano. Like I'm asking if my name is Emiliano. It doesn't make sense, right? And it's, I mean, again, it's understandable because
Oh,
you're feeling
yeah.
nervous. It's not something you can control if you haven't uh, at least being self-aware of what you're doing right there. Whereas having this downward inflection,
Mm.
it commands authority, masculinity, and assertiveness and confidence in general, right? So, hey, excuse me. I mean, I was walking around here and I saw you and I thought you were really cute. I liked your style and I wanted to meet you, right? I'm ending it on the lower spectrum of the pitch voice, and it this also involves what is called mirror neurons. We all have these mirror neurons in our brain, which is an evolutionary trait. So we tend to emulate or act according to how other people are feeling. So if we're feeling nervous, she's going to feel nervous. It's evolutionary. I mean, think
Mm.
about it. Back in the day, we were always aware of threats or opportunities. And if something represented a threat, or people were nervous around us, or they were fearful about something, it means that there's something out there that we should be careful about. Whereas if we're portraying confidence and assertiveness and calm and being grounded, then it's going to be very easy for her. It's subconscious. It's completely subconscious that she's going to feel at ease. She's going to feel calm. She's going to be like, all right, this guy, I can trust him. And the best way to convey that calm, assertiveness, and confidence is with the inflection of your voice.
Hmm. That's really well said. You ended on a lower note, almost as if instead of asking permission, you're like, what's the right word? Having authority in the conversation, saying what you want and advocating for yourself. And yeah, that's, I really like what you said about those mirror neurons, where I didn't even really think of that. That when you said that, I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. Where I remember occasions where I just go up and I'm truly nervous, and then like the conversation never went as deep, even with men too, like not just women, but just in general, and it just doesn't go as well versus when you're calm, collected, and you can advocate for what you want and be your true self. It, yeah, the conversation just goes to a deeper level. That's really interesting, and I'm curious also, like you said, body language too. Like, what are some tips in the body language dimension? Like, where should you be looking? Like, what should your stance be like? I'm just guessing. Like, stand up with your shoulders back and kind of confident. I'm just trying to guess. Yeah, I'm curious what your answer is for the body language part.
Right. So the body language, which is the most important actually of the three
Mm.
elements of communication. So it's verbal communication, then tonality, and then body language, the one that has most predominance when conveying a message, right? So you want to balance it out, and this goes for everything actually, even verbal communication, the topics that you're talking about, the words that you're using, and even on the inflection in your vocationality, you want to balance it out. You don't just want to stick to one of the two extremes, right? So there's a lot of guys that will be fidgeting with their hands, or that they will convey this nervousness in a different manner, and you can see them, you can sense it. Women are absolutely experts at picking up how someone else is feeling. This is something that I also like to say about game communication skills, and just understanding psychology and social dynamics. I think women have the upper hand, and we are using this to get on their level because they're experts at picking up how you're feeling, at understanding the real you beneath any facade or any smoke wall that you may put up, you know. So body language, no fidgeting, no having your hands in front of your chest. Your chest is a very vulnerable area. Again, evolutionary speaking, it's where you have the most vital organs in your body. So we tend to cover it up when we feel nervous, when we feel that there's a threat. So if you're at a bar and you have a drink and you just put it like this in front of your chest, like you're covering it up, then again, subconsciously they're gonna think, okay, this guy is feeling nervous, is feeling fearful, right? But if you like just own your space, and if you expand, you're not afraid of using your hands to point at things, and yeah, just using your space and being able to, of course, even reach out for things, they're gonna see that you're more confident, that you're more calm, that you're not afraid to use your body to express yourself, to communicate yourself. Because the other extreme is where guys just look like soldiers. They have their hands to their sides, but they do not do anything with them.
Mm.
You know, it just looks weird, and it looks like they're too stiff, and well, it's not comfortable either. So I guess in short, the answer is balance it out. You don't want to fidget, you don't want to cover yourself, but at the same time, you don't want to just be like a soldier, super stiff. You know,
Sure. Yeah,
use your
keep going.
space, use your space, be comfortable with using your hands to express yourself. And yeah, another one, and this is very common as well, is where we put our hands in our pockets, right, in our pants. I don't know who made it popular, maybe models, maybe photos we see on Instagram, and we think it's cool. I don't like putting my hands in my pockets because, again, you're covering yourself instead of harnessing all the potential that using your hands has. So, and this is something very subtle and it's a small detail, but at the end of the day, that's what's most important, the details. If you put your hands in your pockets, you're hiding your hands, and she's not going to know whether or not you have something threatening in your pockets. It sounds stupid, but again, they're not thinking consciously about it. It's like, I don't know where his hands are. I can't see it. Therefore, I'm not sure if I should be scared right now or if I should be cautious, careful with this guy. So that's why I'm not a big fan of having my hands in my pockets.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I love how you bring evolution into this whole thing because I think that's such a smart route to go. It's like it's hardwired into us in a way that even the women that you might be trying to go impress or meet don't even realize it, but if you're able to understand it, it's like you are now, like you said, on their level of emotional intelligence, social cues. I find that really, man, this is very cool. And I'm curious, like, the opinion of eye contact. Like, I know on this, like, it's hard to make perfect eye contact, camera, monitor, but, like, in person, it's like, there's probably a ratio of, like, trying to keep as much eye contact as possible is probably a good idea, but maybe not too much that you're staring into their soul. But I'm curious what you mention on or talk about in regards to the eye contact.
Right. So, interestingly enough, this is the question that I can actually make this point, which is it depends. To every question, I think the answer is it depends. Not only on the context, on the situation, and on the person, but also on the level of experience that you are with women. So, for someone that is a beginner, I would tell him keep eye contact as much as possible because more often than not, they feel very uncomfortable with eye contact and they're going to be the first ones looking away, which is a sign of being submissive, right? And that's not what you want to communicate with a woman. But if you're more advanced or even intermediate when it comes to women, then I would tell you to calibrate, to balance it out and understand how she's feeling in that particular moment. If she's being receptive, if she's responding positively to your thesis, to your challenges, to like this vibe going on, you're flowing, then by all means, go for it and keep eye contact and have this strong look on your face, like cheeky even. It's super seductive, attractive, and it's very playful. I love that. Love when that happens. But if you feel like she's not just in that at that point yet, maybe she's uncomfortable and you notice that she's pulling back and you haven't created that much of a vibe or trust with her yet, then the best thing is to not come off as too dominant because that's going to be more intimidating for her. Right? So again, the answer is it depends not only on the context and the situation, but also what level you're at. If you feel like that's a sticking point for you, and if you think that that's something you should be working on, then keep eye contact as much as possible, just to ingrain it in yourself that it's okay and that nothing happens if you do it, and you're gonna see your results improve. But it comes to a point where that's no longer what works. There's a phrase that I learned from one of my mentors back in the day, which goes, "What got you here won't get you there." I'm gonna repeat that. What got you here won't get you there, because sure, you've mastered perhaps tonality and then body language and then eye contact. But it comes to a point in which that's not enough to go the next step and to have access to really the high quality women that you're looking to get into a relationship with.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting. I like how you highlight like the different levels like of experience, and yeah, you almost have to put yourself out there. I remember you said a little bit ago where you're like, just going up to women is a cheat code. It's like, that's the cheat code, people. It's going out and getting experience and meeting as many women as you can, getting rejected regularly. Once you sit, I bet, like, I don't know, so many people are afraid of rejection when in reality one rejection is just maybe a pivot point for the next success in some sense. Like, but if you're getting zero responses whatsoever, a few rejections is actually optimistic and the right path to be going towards. And yeah, I like how you say you need to practice this, and there is a way to practice this. You can,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like, for example, back in school or back in college, if I was a freshman, if I was a freshman or it was in the first semesters, and then the professor came up and it was like, all right, well, we're going to learn how to program a robot right now, right here. It's just going to be too intimidating, and maybe I'm going to try it, but I'm just going to drop out because I'm not going to get the results that I want with it because I haven't gone through the basics of engineering, of control. Maybe I'm getting too technical in these terms, but that's what I went through, right? That's what we went through. But it's the same principle, and it applies to everything. I mean, if you're learning how to play guitar, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna learn this fucking solo of Metallica, then it's gonna be very difficult if you haven't learned basic chords yet.
yeah, exactly.
So when it comes to women, you have to understand your level of experience. Otherwise, you're going to create frustrations and you're going to get overwhelmed and you're just going to drop out.
Yeah, it takes like, I think, yeah, like going through some practice rounds and getting your confidence kind of smashed down is like probably the best thing for you, because then it forces you to grow. Like, I bet it's probably, we all, like, girls are the people who reject the guys. The guys have to learn how to be rejected somehow. And like, if you're not fearful of the rejection and that's a sign that you've done enough practice and maybe you are comfortable. And I'm sure it doesn't take too many tries of like, but I'm not sure. It probably totally depends on the person. I shouldn't generalize here, but it's the more you practice, and then the woman is going to be much more comfortable because the less nervous you're going to be. Speaking of the mirror neurons, like, yeah, I'm just kind of reiterating and kind of like locking in what you're saying, because it's useful stuff. Even if I'm not dating, it's just useful for like interacting with anybody.
Right. And here's another thing. You mentioned something very important that I want to emphasize, which is you don't want to generalize. And it applies to people, to men trying to learn social communication skills, dating. That's why I'm not a big fan of books, of YouTube videos, social media content. Sure, you can get tips here and there, but a book, a video doesn't understand what goals you have, what values you have, what challenges you're facing, and won't give you feedback on what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. So I've been told, hey man, you should put out like a book or a lot more long format video content. I'm not a content creator. My job is to get my clients results, and that can only be achieved through one-on-one personalized feedback after we have understood what are the challenges, what are the goals, what are the values.
Yeah, that's good.